Gene's part is very important in this. You've got to have somebody who's going to be willing and able to stand there throughout the story and turn the page. Now what you do is you draw the whole picture, you draw the pictures, go through the story. At the end of the story, you're going to go back through the story with them. And you're going to say to them, just quickly, remember God planted 2 trees in the middle of the garden. One tree, I'm sorry, one tree they were not to eat of, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And in the beginning, God came to the garden every day and spent time with Adam and Eve and walked in the garden with them. So you're just going to briefly go back through and review it with them. And then one day, the serpent came to Eve and told her that she should eat of the tree, that would make her like God, and God just didn't want her to be like him. So you go back through the story like that. In some settings, if it's intimate enough, if it's a small group, if it's 100 people, you're not going to be able to do the next step. You definitely want to go through the story 2 times with them. Let them see the pictures 2 times, every one of them, and review it with them. And again, remember, you're going to be doing this through a translator. So you're going to say phrases like, God came to the garden with them. And wait for them to say that. And he told them not to eat of the tree of good. You know, you're going to say phrases that are complete, but short, fairly short. You don't want to tell a whole paragraph. You're not going to do the whole picture in one breath. You're going to stop and let your translator interpret for you. Okay, let's see. So if you're in a group that's small enough, you can tear out the pages and lay them on the ground. Most of the stories are 6, 8 pages long. Some of them are a little bit longer, and in that case, it's going to be hard to do it. But when you've got a story that's 6 or 8 pages long, if the setting allows, now if you've got 140 people, which is possible, this last step you're probably not going to be able to do. But if you're in a group with 20 or 30 people or fewer, you can tear the pages out and lay them out on the ground and say to them, what does this picture do? What's this picture telling you? And they'll say it back, and the translator will tell you what they're saying. What is this? What's happening in this picture? What's happening in this picture? And go through the picture. So now 3 times. And then in your book, go ahead and look in your book at the very first few pages. You should see somewhere in there a set of questions. A set of 10 questions. Let me see. Oops, I've got my notebook. Page 3. It's on page 3.
Oh, no, it's okay. I don't have one.
Who's getting it?
Oh, he's getting one. Okay. Thank you.
I've got one on, I think it's there twice. On page 5 I see it. The first one is under number 8. It says, where in the story did you see God is all-knowing? Do you see that set of questions? Anybody not find that set of questions? You didn't find it yet, Abby? Okay.
Page 5.
Here, there, right there.
Page 5.
Yeah. Okay. So again, based on the setting that you're in, this is really a fun thing to do if you are in a place where you're able to do it. If you've got your pictures laid out, or even if you can flip, through the pages, you can ask them some of these questions. Where did you see in that story that God is all-knowing? Where did you see that? And they could point in this story, for instance, it's when God came back to the garden after they had eaten of the fruit, and he said, Adam, what have you done? So God is all-knowing. God knew that they sinned. But you're getting the people involved to again, think about what those pictures say. What is behind those pictures that you've drawn? The pictures are so simple, but there's so many words behind them. So you want them to be able to think about what it is. So now, what I have done in my notebook, every story does not have every question addressed, okay? So now if you will take your books and turn to the first story, which I think is the fall of the creation of the angels? Is that the first story? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have those. You don't have the whole set.
That's Abraham.
Okay, let me get.
We've got 2 different.
Yes, you do. Okay, let me get these. I'll be right back. I'll be right back in the camera. Okay. Okay, if you've got a blue notebook, your first story is the sacrifice of Isaac. And your red notebook, your first story is, I'm sorry, I should have already looked at this, is the 10 Commandments. Okay, okay, so what you have is your story first, all right? So on that first page is your story. Then if you flip to the next, and you notice that the paragraphs are numbered. You see in the text, the paragraphs are numbered. So for the blue team, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say team 1 and 2, I'll keep getting mixed up. The blue team, you have paragraph 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and so on, right? And red team, you have paragraphs 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, and so on, right? You see those? Now, if you flip the page to the first page of pictures, of drawings, you'll see that the pictures correspond to those numbered paragraphs. So you have picture 7.1. On picture 7.1, you're saying what is in paragraph 7.1. Okay? And in the red book, you've got picture 12.1. You're saying what is in paragraph 12.1. Does that make sense to everybody? Anybody not following what I'm saying? Okay? So on the picture pages, I have lines for you to make some notes. If you want to make a few notes about what the paragraph said, so that you don't have to stand up there and read from the written word page. Again, it's just not as effective if you stand there and say, God led the Israelites to Mount Sinai, where God had originally appeared. That's not fun. You know, look at the picture and say, God led, you know, and the picture of the mountain is being drawn, and God led the Israelites to this mountain where He was going to meet with them. You know, that's so much better than reading, right? But when you see that picture, you should know what's going on because you've read it, okay? But you can make yourself little notes there. You can also make yourself notes about what questions, of those 10 questions that we just talked about. If any of those 10 questions apply to this picture, how do we know that God speaks to His creation? Well, He showed them where to go. He led them by fire and by the cloud to Mount Sinai. That's how we knew. That's how we know God communicated with His creation. So, you know, that question you might want to write there. So you know when you go back through and you say, where do you see that God communicates with His creation? Well, you've already got it. You know that it's this picture is the one you're talking about. And they may not realize that. They may know, they may be right off, you know, right there and say, oh, it's when He told them where to go, where to stop in the desert. But you are ready in case nobody says a word. You know, they may say a picture and a question match up a question and picture that you didn't think of. Well, that's okay. That meant something to them, and you just say, "That's right, that's right." You know, don't say, "Oh no, that's not that picture they used." Don't ever do that to them. You know that. You want to say, "That's right, that's awesome. I hadn't even thought of that. That's perfect." You know, so your notebook is going to become your storytelling Bible, and it's going to become really personal to you. Mine, I would die. I would just die if I lost mine. It's very, you know, it's already getting dirty and wrinkled. But I've had it on every trip where I've done storytelling, and it's so precious to me. And I'll think about, oh yeah, that's where Brenda drew for me. You know, there are things that come back to your mind because you're keeping your story with you. So, okay, so that you may want to make notes about what you want to say. You may want to say verses. You may want to put your verse at the top. If you're going to open your story with a Bible verse, put it at the top of the story so you know right where you're going to go to read when you're starting the story. And put your questions there that correlate to that picture if you found any. Every picture is not going to have a question. Some pictures will have 5 or 6 questions that can go with them. Okay? And there's not a right and a wrong. It's not like, you know, like I said, I'm not going to say, no, that picture doesn't mean that one. That doesn't answer that question. It's how God speaks to you through that. And if you are reading these stories, and read them from God's Word, read ahead of it and behind it so you understand the context a little bit more, it's more real to you than ever.